Hi everyone and welcome to After Dark Analysis. Today we are going to be talking about horror marketing. I'd like to start this off by quickly talking about the inspiration behind this episode. It was a TED Talk given by Malcolm Gladwell about spaghetti sauce. I'm going to link that down below for those that are curious, but if you don't want to watch a whole big long video about spaghetti sauce, don't worry, I'm going to cover the highlights here. Malcolm Gladwell tells the story of Howard Moskowitz, who was hired by Pepsi to find the perfect sweetness for their soda. Pepsi gave him parameters and told him to find the perfect sweetness within those parameters. One side being less sweet, one side being very sweet. He expected his data to come back in a nice little bell curve, as most people doing research like this would. The problem was, it was completely scattered all over. He realized there was no perfect Pepsi, because everybody has different taste preferences. So the solution was to make several different types of Pepsi. We've also seen this logic and the exact same rationale go to pickles, spaghetti sauces, and toothpaste. Have you ever stood in the aisle wondering why they can't just cram whitening, cavity prevention, X, Y, and Z all into one toothpaste? They can, but there are people that just aren't going to like that. So people have taste preferences and the market diversified due to that. Now you're probably wondering, and rightfully so, why did a horror channel just sit here and talk about spaghetti sauce, pickles, toothpaste, what have you? It's because that's kind of the way horror is. Under this main horror umbrella, we'll have something like found footage, ghost stories, slashers, a whole plethora of other subgenres, because people have different taste preferences in terms of horror. Also, people have different fears. What's going to scare one person won't necessarily scare the next one. That's why there's no perfect horror film that's going to play on everybody's fear. For simplicity's sake, let's look at the horror market on a nice little bell curve. The one tail over here is going to be your hardcore horror fan. They love horror. That's their genre. That's their thing. This top bit here is where most people are. They're either a casual horror fan or just a casual moviegoer. They probably don't feel super strongly one way or the other. If we're in a boom, they'll go see it. If we're in a fast, they're not going to really miss horror a whole lot. On the other tail, we have people that absolutely abhor horror and will not watch it no matter what. Not surprisingly, this middle bit, where most people are, is the most profitable to hit. But they've gotten a little smarter about it over the years. Instead of just trying to go straight for that middle bit and making a bunch of films that are kind of very similar, because it worked once, it'll work again, they've changed up marketing a bit. And this is true through a lot of pop culture, is they're now targeting that one tail horror fan. Reason being is it actually is kind of a trickle-down effect. Let's say, for a moment, this one tail represents your horror fanatic best friend. This middle bit represents some YouTuber that you watch, they review all different genres of films. And the other tail is some guy that you know for a fact hates horror. Who are you going to trust more? Somebody that you know has a bias towards the movie you're interested in seeing. Somebody that you have an idea, you clearly follow their channel, and you know kind of what they like probably at this point, because you can see, oh, they give these things a high rating and these things a low rating. So biases and preferences become very clear very quickly with review channels. Or somebody that is your friend that you know is obsessed with it. Odds are you're going to go with the friend that's more knowledgeable. This is where we get that trickle-down effect. Is if they hit the hardcore fan and they win them over, they'll tell everybody they love it. People tend not to be very quiet about their opinions on things like that. Like when a movie's terrible and bombs, everybody will tell you it's terrible. An example of this comes from the show True Blood. When True Blood was first coming to HBO, it was actually a massive gamble because it had been a very long time since there was like a legit horror-themed show. Because before that, we really had Tales from the Crypt, which had its own base coming in because it was a comic book. The show Carnivàle had some horror elements, but it wasn't quite in there proper. And I know it's hard to think of now with American Horror Story and Bates Motel and Exorcist and what have you. But the market at the time was a little dicey to adapt something horror related into a show completely. So what they did was they sent hardcore fans these little boxes filled with different merchandise and different things going on to kind of win their favor for when the show premiered. What this also did is, since we're such an experience-based culture right now, a lot of them did unboxing videos and pulled them open and showed everybody what they got. So not only was it exciting that hardcore fan, since that hardcore fan already probably has an audience that trusts them, it was bringing that down to, oh God, we should all watch True Blood now. Experience-based marketing and trying to market to hardcore fans has been a big staple in viral marketing in the past several years. This concept of trying to hit hardcore fans and build word of mouth before the product's even out isn't a new concept. A couple of years ago, with the 2013 release of the Carrie remake, not only did they have a number you could call to speak to Carrie, it was obviously a recording, and several YouTubers have made videos about that on creepy numbers and several viral marketing campaigns that have used that tactic. There was also a video of a girl in a coffee shop. A guy accidentally spills some coffee on her laptop. She's upset and starts throwing things around and throwing people through telekinesis like Carrie has. In 2014, we also saw the same tactic with The Devil's Due. Somebody was pushing around a stroller. Everybody's like, oh, yay, cute baby. When they removed the blanket, though, it was an evil plastic demon-looking baby. Again, it's there to shock people. It's there to scare people. But this is also where the internet seriously comes in. Had you not been in the area where the Devil's Due stroller was going around, or if you weren't in the coffee shop where Carrie freaked out, you would have missed that experience. But since it was recorded, it got passed around and went viral. So even people that don't like horror or weren't even interested in seeing it probably were aware of the Carrie video and the stroller video. And again, pulling experiences into it and getting that word of mouth out of an outlandish stunt isn't necessarily a new thing. If we go back to William Castle, he theoretically kind of created this idea, at least in terms of movie making. In 1959, with the Tingler, which was a movie based around a creature that would feed off fear, and where he would feed specifically was at the base of your spine, he put little electrodes to shock people in the theaters during particularly intense scenes where the Tingler would be feeding. So not only did you get that mild jolt of getting shocked in the base of the spine, you also got that fear of, oh my God, what if the Tingler's real? In 1960, he made 13 Ghosts. Just a year later, in 1960, 13 Ghosts came with 3D glasses. The deal with that is you could either look through the one side to see the ghosts, or you could look through the other side to not see the ghosts. It was completely your choice, making that movie as scary as you wanted to. If you're like, no, I'm afraid of ghosts, I don't want to see this, you easily could have that option. He was also known for selling life insurance policies before his movies in case people got scared to death. And that has been a big joke running through pop culture. We've seen that on plenty of different shows. And all of it is, knowingly or not, a callback to William Castle. So with viral marketing, it's kind of this weird middle line. Is the fanboys that know about these things, it's a great callback. They love it because it reminds them of, oh yes, this has been done in the past and that's really cool. But for the non-horror fans, they're seeing the viral videos. And even flops make an impact. Without having the numbers in front of me, Devil's Due, I don't believe did that well. But people remember that stroller gag and it's still being passed around. So even though the movie might not have done well, it still made a colossal impact on people, horror fan or not. Thus creating this environment of almost B-movie respect and nods, while incorporating the technology we have that doesn't have to make this super campy. Again, this isn't really a new thing. While it's decidedly not horror, Stan Lee has been quoted as saying, any comic book could be somebody's first comic book, so we always try and keep that in mind. Now, with bigger franchises like Halloween or Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street, you could pick up with somebody about middle of franchise, and they probably wouldn't be totally lost because we have such a cultural connection to those slashers that we have a vague idea of how they work. Even somebody who hasn't seen a horror movie has a vague idea of how that slasher works and probably wouldn't be totally lost. So it's this weird blend of the old and the new, of somebody who has been experienced and can trickle this down, bringing in somebody who's new in that middle bit. And this can be seen very easily in horror marketing. So what do you think? Do you like viral marketing? Do you not? Do you feel like gimmicks like this cheapen the film? Do you think it makes things more interesting? Let me know in the comments below. As always, if you like what you're seeing, please hit like, comment, subscribe. If you don't like what you're seeing, please leave me a comment and let me know. Thank you.